welcome back to Password, bitches.
A lot of things have happened since the last episode. So many things, in fact, that Password has been erased from my brain, and I am like a newborn who has never heard of this game before.
It's been 3 months since we played this game. Maybe more, actually.
It's been more, and also I bought a fucking house.
Yes.
So this game has been literally the last thing on my mind for a quarter now.
Yeah. I went to multiple conventions and a few other trips since the last time I played this game. I've put out an entire video essay, I think, and I'm about to put out another one. It's a lot. I tried to do my due diligence and load up the previous episode and click around, but that doesn't work because it's just the same characters in the same 2 rooms the entire playthrough, so you're not going to get your memory jogged by, like, seeing what scenes happened. It's not exactly like, oh, right, last time was Leo at the barbecue. You know, the only time in the game where Leo and that background happened. Oh, that's what that scene was. No, it's just fucking 3 backgrounds for 300 hours and no new characters basically ever. But the last episode was titled Stop Injecting Dave and Blaming Him. So last session was the one where Oswin lured Dave into his lab and then injected him with something. And then was like, it's a placebo or something. I don't remember exactly. So anyway, if it sounds like we just woke up at the beginning of the movie Memento and don't know what happened 5 minutes ago, well, maybe that'll improve the flavor.
Yeah, maybe it'll make it more palatable for everyone.
Yeah, Toaster got extremely busy with his job, and then while he was extremely busy with his job, he then got basically evicted in that the place that they were living at went up for sale or something, and they were not considered or something.
Well, yeah, no, the story behind this
happened.
is fun and will encourage the audience to feel parasocially involved in my life. So I'll explain what happened. We went to Las Vegas for a con, which takes place on my birthday. And as a very nice birthday gift to me, my landlord reached out and was like, hey, we want to sell the house you live in. So we're not going to renew your lease. And we're going to give you a big heads up on that, which was very nice of them. However, the sort of catch with that was that they were like, you can buy the house. We'll let you buy it. And I wanted to. I wanted to buy the house that I lived in. But
that was like a stated goal you guys had like 8 months ago or something.
Yeah, Brewing and I wanted to buy the house we were in. And basically, we had been saving up for a year, but we were thinking that it was going to take them 2 years to sell, not 1 year to sell. And so it was a little bit ahead of schedule, but we were like, okay, let's try to make this happen. And they were like, cool, we'll call you after you get back from being out of town. We'll try to work on this. And then when we got back, they were like, yeah, we want to sell you this house, but we want to do it entirely off market. And we want to sell it to you in like a week. And we were like, okay, but it like takes time to get a down payment, and it takes time to even get like a real estate agent and like someone to like work through this process with you. So we probably won't be able to get this together in a week. And they were like irritated with that. They were a little bit like, they really were like, well, if you can't get out in a week, then we're going to need to start doing open houses. And we were like, well, we can't do that because we still live in the house and we have like a lease agreement for another 2 months. So we'll work with you on getting out of the house quickly, but like let's talk about like what the sale would be, like what do you want? And they just wanted like $250,000 more than the house was really worth. Like I would have bought that house for market price, which around here for like a 4-bedroom house would have been around $550,000 to $650,000. Like that's kind of the range that they go in. And that sounds like a lot of money, but you get a mortgage and you put in a down payment and then you just pay it off monthly. So it's not, you don't pay that much all up front for people in the audience, the 12-year-olds in the audience watching Password who don't know how a house buying process works. But that's how much they wanted for it. And we were like, no, we're not going to pay that much for this house. So we started looking for a house and we found this house that we really fell in love with. And we had an abnormally fast close. And so for context for people who have never bought a house before and don't know what this process is like, you have to get all of the money in the down payment. And if you pull from things like 401ks and other tax incentive house buying things that you can normally make exceptions for, it takes time. And the largest amount of time when you buy a house isn't even looking for the house and putting in offers. It's once you accept the offer, waiting for everything to come into like a middleman account called escrow. People put into escrow, and then once everything is certified, the money gets kind of bundled up and sent to the person who's selling the house. That's how it works. I'm being super reductive. People in the comments can be pedantic about it. Engage with the video. So for context, the people who were selling my first house wanted to sell it to us in like a week. The house that I bought was an abnormally fast close, and it took 19 days. So that was like the timeline that I was on. And for 19 days, it was the busiest I've ever been in my life. And then another 2 weeks happened on top of my job being busy, where we had to like move into the house and stuff. But now I'm in my new house and it's great and my life is good. And I have internet. Internet was like a big hurdle. For a lot of reasons. The people who lived in my house before me have lived in it since it was built. They were the original owners. So they never had internet or cable. So there was just no utilities for internet or cable going to the house. So we had to get the internet installed, which is different than just when you normally call the internet and you're like, hey, can I get internet in my house? And they're like, sure, we'll run a wire. Like we'll just like hook you up to the grid. They had to actually like bring a construction crew out to install internet to the house, which was an insane process.
So it's not a new house.
No, it is not a new house. It is a very nice like house. It's a very nice house. It is old. It was built in the 60s. But it has been renovated. It is very nice. I'm very happy to have it. Yeah, that's my story. So I am a proud homeowner now. I'm the landed gentry. I am a valid person in the eyes of the government.
You're fully rooted into the California now. You're stuck here.
Yes, I am a California homeowner. So, you know, this is where I am. This is my life now. I have reached the next level of middle-aged, failing upwards white man.
On top of the other stuff that was happening, you also launched your first like deep dive on your new channel, Up Late with Toaster.
Oh, I did do that.
Yeah,
I forgot that happened.
Because of everything else that happened, it's easy to forget. But like that weekend was Las Vegas FurCon, your birthday, the premiere of your new deep dive channel, and the day you found out you were having to move, basically.
Yes, it was huge. If you haven't watched that deep dive, you can go watch it at Up Late with Toaster. The title of the video is Up Late with Panzer Dragoon. It is a 3.5 hour long, I think. Let me look it up. Up Late with Panzer Dragoon.
It took up like half of our drive to Vegas, I think.
Yes.
Because the premiere happened in real time.
Yes, it's a 3-hour-long video covering the entirety of the Panzer Dragoon series, and kind of deep diving its development and the context with which it was made, and why you should care about those very cool games and how kind of their place in history, the history of game development and technological innovation. Subscribe to that channel for more stuff kind of like that. My next video will be on Zone of the Enders, which I am currently writing. I'm hoping to get that out before the Elden Ring thing. Yeah. I also launched my early access tier on Patreon since the last password video, which has also taken up a lot of my time. So things are just good. Things have just been busy. For those of you who watch this not live, we are recording this on May 27th, 2024.
Memorial Day, the one day that Toaster's free.
Yes, the one day that I'm free.
Then he goes back into hibernation for 9 months.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about that is that if you follow video games, you will know, specifically this week, but this month, like the calendar 30 days prior to this have been fucking insane for video games. And like 100 Game of the Year contenders have come out in the past 30 days. So it has been a very, very busy time, not only for my job, but for my YouTubing as well. And like, I haven't been able to stream, so I've just been able, because I haven't had internet, so I've had to like record things offline, and it's just been weird. So I haven't been
downloading games off of your like cell phone
my fucking
signal.
phone connection. Yeah, because I've been having to hotspot from my phone and upload from my phone, which has been a nightmare. So it's been busy. That's the length of this. So I don't know, who is this man on screen? What is his name? I've never heard of him before.
Roswell 2?
Roswell 2, the sequel to Roswell.
His name is New Mexico.
New Mexico, gotcha.
Brand new flavor, New Mexico. But yeah, definitely go check out. I know this is a long intro, but we haven't recorded anything together for months. Definitely check out TOASTER'S new video, Up Late with Panzer Dragoon. It's a brand new channel, so it will not be suggested to you, and it won't like get around that much. And so statistically, this video will like double the views of that thing that he worked on for months. So like,
yes,
you need to seek it out yourself by actually doing the thing YouTube audiences never do, which is like go to the thing that's in the call to action, or you'll never see it ever again.
Yes, that would be very appreciated. Thank you, everyone.
Anyway, back to Oswin, and he stabbed us recently, and it's day 15, so we're most of the way through the timeline, and we already did the giant cluster of side endings, so I think we might be en route to ending B, but I'm not entirely sure, but we're at least going to be closer.
Ending B?
Ending A.
Where are we?
Right, we're on the ending A. We're on the A route. It feels intuitive to say B because it's our second time through.
Yes.
Anyway, Tyson's still a rapist. Oswin still is a child in an adult body who stabs people and has stolen gay valor with his fucking gay tusk ring.
Oswin is like, oh yeah, I did forget about that. That's crazy. Oswin is like a child's idea of what a scientist is. Like, I feel like if we were to go down to his lab and watch him do his work, he would be like slapping his hands on a computer and being like, I am doing science. The medicine is happening. Like,
pouring
that's just
colored beakers into other colored beakers to make new colors that bubble.
Exactly.
like a Nickelodeon, like a one of those goo sets you're advertised on on Nickelodeon between cartoons.
You have completely lost the audience. The Zoomers have no idea what you're talking about.
That's fine. It's fine. I was working on a video where I do a takedown of the shitty furry video that happened recently, and I referenced Fear Factor, and then I realized that when Fear Factor was canceled, when the person I'm talking about was 5.
Yeah.
So, fuck.
Joe Rogan is now known for right-wing reactionary content.
For his podcast and not for being the host of Fear Factor.
Yep.
That's insane to me. He does look like a different human.
He's basically a mutated monster at this point.
He looks like a Stretch Armstrong toy. Like just a weird
You've
blobby...
also lost the audience with that reference.
So, he's been injected with the Bane serum. Which that's still the older Batman movies where he looked like that specifically and not just like Tom Hardy in a mask. Anyway, fuck, I guess we'll play Password. We can't procrastinate forever. I headed upstairs figuring I'd make a beeline for the library like I made a beeline for this fucking video starting, but what I didn't expect was Austin was already there. So, now's a good time to talk, right? Are you sure that's wise, all things considered? That talk from earlier is likely still sending waves through your friends. It's sending waves through me. Which talk was it?
This is also a really weird way of phrasing this. Again, I'm not going to litigate Password's weird language, but I feel like most people would be like sending waves through your friend group, not sending waves through your friends.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to say. Like physical waves.
Yes.
We're only halfway through the month, and now we have 2 solid weeks of wondering if we're in danger.
They're only just now wondering if they're in danger. Which is wild because I think Dave already had spoken in this timeline. He's already spoken to Thanatos and stuff. Like the your friends are in danger and everyone wants to kill you was a talk that had already happened.
At the very least, at the beginning, Dave always has his scene of like, one of you is fated to die or something, because that's supposed to be that's supposed to set up the death game, but it's so poorly explained and handled that it's unclear what we're even supposed to think about it. And Dave has really poor information to work on because the only ending where the house disappears is one he can't remember because there's no resonance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny to me remembering that, like, I don't think that in any of the timelines you actually reach day 30, so that part's also not true, but they don't know that yet.
What a mercy.
True enough, I suppose. I appreciate that they realized they didn't have 30 days of story. I just would have appreciated if they also realized they didn't have 10 days of story.
It would be very nice.
It's like, thank God they didn't try to stretch it all the way to day 30, but they could go further with this. He remained near the door, looking out into the garden and the forest beyond. Is something out there? No. At least, nothing I can see. I was just reflecting on how this was, where I saw things happen back. I was just reflecting on how this was where I saw things happen on my way back to the lab.
Speaking English is really hard.
Whatever. You were here, and then you, I tried to shoot the rabbit, yes. Okay, so that just happened. The jack just happened. Thinking about him made me tremble, but wandering over to the window, I could see no signs of his white fur breaking the deep black of the shadows beyond the trees, like rabbits glow or something. Like you can, like something that's white is gonna be visible in deep shadow. How do you think light works, Dave? You want to have our chat now? We can. Here or in the lab? Do we have any need of that level of privacy? I don't fucking know. You're the one that always insists on it. You make the rules.
It is true.
You're the one that's telling me what information isn't or isn't being revealed and what level of secrecy it needs. Why are you asking me?
He's also the character who has been adamant this whole time about, like, I cannot talk with you in front of your friends. Please keep me secret. It's like, okay. Why are you the one questioning whether or not privacy is important now? What the fuck?
Yeah, if you reveal him, he dies. But if you don't reveal him, he reveals himself a day later. And that's the primary, most impactful, longest resonant, longest consequence choice in the entire game. Reveal or don't reveal Oswin, and then he shows up anyway 2 days later. I don't get it. Why was that the most important choice in the entirety of passwords choices? The library would suffice if absolutely needed, but need be, but I don't think we do. With my brow furrowed, I tried to think, barely registering him walk past me to shut the door. You know, like for privacy. He just immediately shut the door for privacy after saying all that.
This game is a cartoon parody of itself at times. Like it just doesn't feel real.
I've only had one sip of my Red Bull, but I'm a little awake now. For context, I was still in bed, and Toaster was like, "If you want to do password, I'm available right now." And I'm like,
"Yeah, I have other games I want to play on Memorial Day, so we're gonna binge this and just try to do what we can."
The second we stop this, I'm just gonna be binge editing all day.
Yeah. To
do my essay, and I'm not looking forward to it because the first part of that is the part where you have to do all of your takes from the recording and edit out all the mistakes, and that part makes me want to die.
I'm gonna play a very good game that I like a lot. I'm gonna play Elden Ring, and I'm playing it in the first person with a first person mod to kind of spice up my playthrough because I've beaten it 100% twice, and it's really fucking cool. So I'm very excited for that. That's what is gonna get me through this experience.
Drive to your house and give you a first person perspective of going out your window.
No. My window's on the first floor. That would just be annoying. I'd have to clean it up.
Take a seat, Dave. In privacy. No one can hear us now, which is unnecessary. If you don't mind, I'll be going first with my questions. You'll be free to ask as you wish when I'm done. Via a text input box. Alright. Excellent. Now explain to me how you came to find a viral sample and syringe. Wow, it's actually gonna be discussed in some meaningful way.
Oh my god, they're gonna talk about the fucking the sample, the secret vial that everyone was upset about.
Yeah, the one that Dave was like, I should talk to Roswell about this, and then he just forgets for the entirety of Route B. But I didn't forget, Dave. I remembered the whole time. Was it from your lab? Answer the question first. His stare was as intense as his tone. Like a father scolding a misbehaving child. So his only tone. That's all he ever does. When I went out into the woods, I stopped by a river and found it nearby. And it was exactly as you returned it? As far as I know, I didn't use it, if that's what you're worried about. He reached over and checked my head with his hand. No fever. Good. His hand lingered, though, and just looking at him told me his attention was elsewhere, staring off somewhere far away. Oswin? Oh, yes, very good. I wouldn't think you have any reason to inject yourself with what was in this bottle anyway. What was in the bottle, anyway? I still have questions. Wait your turn. Fine, what's next then? Why do I keep having to prompt you to ask? Oswin's just the worst person to be in the room with.
Just fascinating.
Did you see anyone else out there? Or just who you ran into? Just him. And you were sure no one else? Positive. He scratched his chin, sighing out. I'd hazard to think there might be others, but it's hard to say. Who we're dealing with isn't exactly bright. Speaking about Roswell.
Jesus Christ.
Sure, that's a good idea. Sure, that's a good idea to make fun of someone like that? I've said it to his face, and I'd say it again. He only cares about his money and guns. Just a much larger child, really. Spoiled rotten by what I assume to be a life of luxury and poor parenting. Right. Okay. Is he in the room with us right now? Oh shit, there he is. It's a fucking mirror. Oh wow, spoiled by luxury and poor parenting and too many guns? That's just this mansion. What? Well, I don't have kids, but I turned out alright, didn't I? What?
What? Dave's logic is just like, he just so consistently has no fucking idea what a conversation is about, ever. Like, he just truly has no clue what is going on.
Insane sentence. So how hard could it be? Dave, you turned out extremely fucked up.
It's also just like the fact of someone having or not having kids has literally nothing to do with what Oswin was actually saying.
Yeah, it's a total non sequitur to talk about him not having personal experience with kids. But also, most of his narration is half the time is about how he is fucked up. That's like the point of most of what's happening. I don't think I quite get what you're implying, Dave. Trust that I have some experience in non-conventional upbringing given the estate.
Shut the fuck up, Oswin. This is this is
Neither
one of those
of
situations.
them know about how to parent.
Well, the weird it's just this isn't a conversation. This is absolute total nonsense where it's like, oh, these people just don't know how to talk to each other. They're not the way this conversation is progressing is like, I had a banana for lunch. It's healthy. And then someone else is like, fruit is very good for the ground. If you plant it, a recycle bin will grow. And it's like, wait, did the AI just corrupt? Like, what's happening? Why are you talking about random shit? The actual logic of this conversation doesn't make sense. It's two Google Homes talking to each other.
Yeah, AI prompt. Character Oswin and character Dave talk about parenting. And then it just like does something.
It's like the AI that like iterates in like AI dungeon and shit like that, where it like forgets what just happened and then just like spurs off of a single detail. So it will be like, my parents died. I'm very sad. Oh, I'm sorry your parents died. Yeah, but I have to deliver this Mother's Day card to my mother. I'm going over her house. She's baking me a cake. And it's like, wait, the chronology here doesn't work. What are you talking about?
Yeah. AI Dungeon sincerely does have the memento problem.
Yes.
Where it's just
yes.
guessing what reality is. Any other questions, before it's my turn? Because I apparently have to keep asking you. How far into the woods did you go? I found an old watermill. Went inside while trying to avoid him when he was following me for the first time. He tensed up but stayed quiet, waiting a few moments. I took my chance to ask a question when he didn't respond to anything else. Why? Why what? You know what? Why do you care about the mill? It's a dangerous place with a lot of very old, well, shall we say, fickle machinery, long since abandoned. It's my fuck machine. That's where I keep my old fuck machine. Sure, but what does it matter if I found it or not? Is something there? No, but it does mark the furthest boundary of the mountain. If you went the other way downstream, you'd likely have hit a sheer cliff. The watermill does not mark the furthest boundary of the mountain. Because there's not anything there.
This feels like it contradicts what we already learned, which is also that there's a tunnel in the watermill, and the tunnel leads down out of the mountain.
Yeah.
In fact, the watermill is the only place that can get off the mountain, according to Benson, except in the ending where we just climbed down the hill. We just climbed down the mountain.
No, we 100% know for a fact at this point that we can basically just climb past the hole in the road, and it's not a big deal. Because that's just what they do the moment the plot ends in the other ending, which hurt me to my core. Speaking of which, drawing from my masterful fiction expertise, my last video essay was about Evil Dead, a movie series about being stuck in a house in the woods. So
that's preposterous.
So what those movies do is there's a bridge. And the bridge goes out. Yeah. It's really masterful, honestly. Like, it's really fucking hard to cross a giant ravine that's only was crossable via a bridge that has been seemingly peeled back into horrible metal claws in a funny miniature. So that's a pretty effective strategy. The other strategy is to some extent to have Evil Dead Remake, where I don't think that one had a bridge. I think the plot just came at them so fast that they couldn't really deal with it, essentially. And in Evil Dead Rise, they're in an apartment building where the elevator murders people. That was effective. So there's all sorts of ways you can trap people in a place. It gets more absurd the longer you give them. Like Evil Dead Rise takes place over the course of one night. So it makes way more sense. I think Evil Dead Remake also, I think all the Evil Deads are in one day, except Army of Darkness, which is the only Evil Dead movie that's not an Evil Dead movie, because their other ones are all the same formula and acts and pacing and story structure. So there were examples to draw on.
This genre is completely original, and Password it was just created in a lab by itself with no cultural references.
I'm reminded of like whenever I see somebody giving advice about what to do if you're ever going to write a visual novel, is to read a bunch of visual novels. Yeah. So that you understand the genre and the formula and like a lot of stuff like that. And on a similar level, it's like, yeah, like if you're going to do a death game or you do a horror thing where people are stuck in a mansion or any stuff like that, you want to explore the genre a bit, because what we experienced really early on in this game was the fact that like we're like, okay, something's gonna happen in this mansion. We're gonna be stuck for some reason. Like we just preemptively were sure of that without the game even telegraphing it yet, because that's obviously just what the genre is gonna be.
Yep.
So I was just waiting. You remember I was waiting for the reveal that like, oh, we're stuck in a fucking dome, or there's evil monsters in the woods that kill you if you go outside, like in Resident Evil. Like there's I had like 10 examples to go through of why they might be stuck here. It's Silent Hill. The fucking reality just ends if you go that way. Fuck you. What does that mean? Like there's so many examples to go by. So when the game just didn't do any of them for like 15 days straight, and then the one thing they did do was blow up a road in a way that even within the narrative doesn't actually stop them from leaving. This breaks me because you can only write a game that way if you just didn't really consider that people would be thinking about that. And that's insane because it's the first thing that's established in everything in this genre. So it speaks to not knowing the genre that was being written, basically, which like is insane because it's very obviously based on Zero Escape.
Yeah.
The games where they're stuck in the thing, like immediately, obviously, and inescapably stuck inside of a building that they can't exit in any reasonable way, up to the point where they start trying to blow it up in some of them, and it doesn't work. It's a lot. First thing you learn about in Hunger Games and Battle Royale is that they have exploding collars and stuff, because like you gotta, that's the whole point. Even Suicide Squad knew to do this. That's Slipknot, the guy that can climb anything. Oh fuck, he's dead.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because, I mean, it just, I guess, how do I explain this? Like, I'm gonna use like a literary example, but like Van Dyne's rules for mysteries and like things like that, like they're obviously pretty antiquated now, but it gives a framework with which to like understand and deconstruct and like understand the structure of like mystery novels. And like obviously you don't want to just like go through, what was it? Was it Van Dyne or was it? Yes, it was Van Dyne's rules for mysteries, the commandments. They, you know, they're really simple things like it's forbidden to have a crime without a corpse. It's forbidden to have a crime without all clues presented. Like just like these ideas of like how to do a mystery if you're writing a mystery like that, and like how mysteries are written. Obviously you want to be able to play with convention and stuff like that, but like doing the research to see these things.
And you just know that all of those rules exist specifically because a very annoying story didn't do each of those things one by one. Akin to like why a dungeon master has 2 rules for their table because they've had so many bad players. Yes,
exactly. And it's like, and it's important, I think, to look at things like this because it gives you a framework then to be like, okay, there is a reason why these, you know, quote unquote, like someone sat down and made these rules. Why did that exist? And like, how did those rules work? Why do they exist the way they do? And like, if I am going to knowingly play with these conventions, what is the framework with which I need to go about them? And the thing about this novel that is very frustrating is that it feels like it went, I want to do this. And then it just like doesn't know. It just doesn't know why. And it's not actually paying attention to any of those things, which is just weird. It's just a very weird vibe as a result because it's making rookie mistakes that like conventions of this genre exist to solve for.
Yeah, like these are all known things that have been iterated on for so long. It's just very strange to seemingly encounter extremely long form monetized art by someone that doesn't seem to know any of it.
Yeah,
this game is chock full of pink unicorns, which I'm referring to like the Suicide Squad thing where Captain Boomerang has a pink unicorn in his jacket. It's established multiple times, and his title card even sets up that he has a fetish for pink unicorns as a joke. Like, so they keep telling you about his pink unicorn. Then he gets stabbed, and you say, "Oh no, he's down!" And they cut away from him for a little while in the action, and then they cut back to him later, and you're like, "Aha! Right, the knife would have hit his pink unicorn, so he's fine." A classic trope where there's a thing in your jacket, like a Bible or something, that saves you. Then he pulls out the knife, and it's in a wad of cash, and the pink unicorn is forgotten by the movie and is never seen again. Like, just a really basic thing like that. And on that level, we spent Route B being reinforced over and over again that you cannot take the road to get off the mountain. It's completely fuck-obliterated, so the only way off the mountain is through the watermill, and the only person that knows how to get through the watermill is Memphis, and Memphis is an unstoppable killing machine, and no, you can't defeat him, and it's completely fucked. Then Memphis is killed. Whoops, off camera. But most importantly, they then leave via the road and not via the watermill. They do not find out the secret to leaving through the watermill from Memphis's corpse or his lackeys or anything like that. So the whole thing, where the entire time we're told the only way out the mountain is the watermill, they then just don't go that way and leave elsewhere anyway. After just like a week of being told that we need to get out via the watermill, but we can only get out through the watermill through Memphis. Like, that is the most insane, like, heavily reinforced setup to that then never gets a payoff. And it probably is because that's the true ending or the A ending or something, but you can't do that because you still keep setting it up as the only way off the mountain in Route B. Like, logically, you have to just go back and just make Route B an ending where everyone dies. Yeah. You can't have them just leave via the road, because now that's always an option in every ending. They could have always always just left. That's insane. Like, if you're gonna set up that the watermill is the only way out, and you're gonna make us through brute force accept that the road is not acceptable, you have to actually commit to the road not being passable, and that the only way out is the watermill. And so, like, characters that try to leave through the watermill, like, die or disappear mysteriously, or something happens there, or Dave doesn't hear about them again, and in the ending that isn't the good ending, they have to die. Either via whatever's wrong at the watermill, or they have to die here and never get a chance to try the watermill. They can't just leave via the road. Yeah. It's so basic that it's so frustrating.
Well, what's crazy too is that, like, there is stuff that you can very easily set up there that, like, does this, which is like, you have, what's his name? I almost called him Tennessee. Memphis is, it's like Memphis is a mob leader. Why can't we go through the tunnel? Memphis has amassed his entire mafia to guard the other edge of the tunnel. There you go. That makes it so that doing the deal with Memphis, where he says, if you give us Benson, we'll let you out, he can radio his people and say, you have a free pass, go through. There you go. There you go. You have the whole setup.
But then in ending B, because you didn't take out Memphis and he's a bad guy, you all get mafia'd.
Yes, exactly.
Because even during that ending, we were sure that, like, even if we take the deal, he's probably not going to let us through. He's probably just going to capture us and kill us or something. Because why wouldn't he? He literally just kills people for fun, basically.
It's just one of those things.
And then the good ending, you get the bear to let you get through, help you get through the route, because he knows how to get through the secret route, because he's the one guy. He's the Mike Ehrmantraut, except I talked to Grizz and he has never seen Breaking Bad, so he's not based on Mark Ehrmantraut, so he's not going to be as good. Well, anyway, it's not the furthest boundary of the mountain. The boundary is the boundary marker of the mountain. That's what boundaries are markers. Sure.
Yep.
What about the vial? What specifically about it? Was it one of yours? What was in it? With a sigh, Osmond adjusted his glasses and looked around the room. I'm not certain on the first. The second, however, I can confirm is what's on the label. Okay, but what is it? More importantly, why are you being vague? I'm not being vague. I'm answering your questions, am I not? You're like half answering them at best, and it's annoying. Yes, thank you, Dave. Fine. While the vial did say cryptococcal meningitis, the truth of the matter is that it was more of a straight sample of Cryptococcus neoformans.
So you just labeled it wrong?
Yeah, what the fuck? Which is this like the writer did slightly more research and realized they labeled it wrong in the previous chapter, but they're not going to go back and fix it. The relevant part for you was that it's a type of fungus. Among other things, it can cause, well, like the label says, a form of meningitis. What? I don't... Is that even how things are labeled?
Isn't meningitis viral?
Yeah, I don't...
It's meningitis. I labeled it wrong. It's actually a incredibly dangerous fungus that can infect people.
Yeah. So, so it's the premise of The Last of Us. It's literally like the Doomsday vial. Like this thing existing single-handedly ends the human race, and also which is what I'm calling furries. Which means it's one of yours. I had to run some tests, but it would appear that way. Bro.
Yes,
you already killed 100
his.
children. How are you still making things worse? You don't need
It's
to
also
invent the
just
Last
like-
of Us plague. Just fucking roll over and die. Stop doing things. Ugh. Same with the syringe? No, that's from Walgreens. I don't know how that got here. What a fucking question. Correct. Was there anything else? Would you like to know more? Who took it, do you think? Pardon? Well, I figured that someone must have snuck in and taken it, right? Then used it out in the woods. It was the first time I saw Oswin at a loss for words. He quickly shifted into thinking mode, as if I wasn't in the room anymore. Oswin? What?
I like how he's just now shifting into thinking mode,
Yes.
as if he has not been thinking this entire time.
As if the entire premise of his questioning wasn't already who took the vial. What do you... Like, it's written like Dave just prompted him to think for the first time about who might have taken the vial, when that was obviously the basis of all of the questioning, so that must have been what he was already thinking about. What? That's bizarre. That's literally the premise of the conversation. His questions don't make sense if he wasn't asking them to figure out who took it. Because he already knew everything. He ignored me, stroking his beard, shifting between bewilderment, frustration, anger, and finally ending on something that looked like sadness, if only for a moment. Sorry, something I just realized. Realized what? Just that whoever snuck in must have been very good at infiltration. It's a hard ask to get by Benson and myself in the area of the house undetected. And Roswell? What about Roswell? Well, he was out in the woods. I think it could have been him that took it, or maybe someone injected him with it. That's not possible, Dave. Roswell doesn't exist.
Roswell is Ellie from The Last of Us. He is immune to the fungus. This is why he's dying.
How the fuck is it impossible for someone to have injected Roswell when he was at the location where the vial was? There was something about how he'd said that didn't sit right with me. Almost like he didn't believe the words that came out of his mouth. Because it doesn't make sense. Why isn't it possible? Roswell's smart. He could have found a way in, or Jack could have jabbed him with a needle when he was sleeping, or... First of all, boy, injecting yourself with that sample would have had a very dire effect on your immune system. Something that you'd barely be able to recover from at all, let alone in a couple of days like Roswell did. Make no mistake, I'm taking an infection in the body that is quite literally fatal if left unchecked. That's not a sentence. What? And something no mere doctor could just cure overnight. Oh, I'm talking an infection. Whoops. I heard it as taking, and then even rechecked and still couldn't tell what I fucked up. Except for you. You have a lab downstairs and everything. You could just make a cure, right? You know, you put the green vial in the blue vial and then it bubbles. Medicine is not magic. While I have quite a few potent things down there, as I'm sure you realize now, knowing what the sample was, curing something that potent is a lot harder than inflicting it. I don't know if potency is correlated with how hard it is to cure. So where does that leave us? It means that your suspect who stole it is as baseless as any guess I could make at this moment. As to who was injected, that is yet to be seen. It's completely baseless, except for the part where Roswell was there. And they're the only person we know that was there. Roswell and Jack, the two characters we know, were there. That seems pretty based, actually, in evidence. What do you get? Oh, it could have been anyone. It could have been Sal. Who knows? It's almost like everyone else has an alibi because they weren't in the woods. They were all at a dinner together being worried about Roswell. Roswell didn't show symptoms. He rightfully should after a potential week of being injected. In fact, none of your friends do. Roswell's literally dying. Like, he's literally on his... This is his mortal month where he could drop dead at any minute. Leaving us with the only logical conclusion that no one currently in the house was injected, no? I grumbled, not satisfied. He was right, or at the very least, everything he'd said made sense, but something in my gut was telling me that I had forgotten something very important. Not only that, we have no motives as to why you'd sneak in to steal that of all things. Okay, fine. Any other questions, boy? Is there anything we can do about the phone reception? Alas, no. Granted, contacting the authorities might help. I feel that given a certain someone's involvement, they won't do us much good.
This guy has all the cops in his pocket, except for the cops that he doesn't have in his pocket, but it's very convenient for the story.
So I'm still asserting that surviving the month is the best way forward. Why? Why? For you? For everyone? First of all, what does it take to survive, given everything that's going to happen? But also, like, why would surviving the month magically solve anything? That's it. Even if he says that knowing something nonsensical and magical, no one he says that to will have any idea what he's talking about. So, like, what the fuck are you talking about? The fact that people don't just push back and question that is so frustrating, because it's a nonsense. You know, Dave, because of the genre. We have to survive the month because of the genre. It's like, the fuck are you talking about? What changes in a month? Memphis doesn't fucking get Thanos snapped. He's just there still. For everyone, unless you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. Your idea is not an idea, it's just don't die.
It is hard to figure out how surviving the month will solve any of these problems, because, like, the premise is that Memphis wants the machine. The gimmick, the premise is that Memphis wants the machine because he thinks it's a time machine, which we know is wrong and is wrong. For some reason, he just believes he's right, I guess, because he's evil. But
you know how they always say that the best villains think they're right and they have a point?
People say that.
Anyway, Memphis doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
He's the villain.
Memphis is just objectively
he acts
wrong.
exclusively on bad information and doesn't know what's happening, and can only even be in the plot because he doesn't understand it. And he's the villain.
It's very funny. But I guess the other thing is just like the weird thing about this is that you're right, it doesn't make sense that afterward, like, even opening the vault, we've never been told that opening the vault makes the vault not work anymore. Like, what if Memphis wants what's inside? He doesn't even want what is inside. He just wants a time machine. That's all he wants. So what would make you think that he wouldn't just kill us afterward? Why? I don't understand.
It's just, it's inactionable information.
Yep.
It doesn't work on anyone's brains. It's several things wrong. One, it's not a plan. So him saying survive a month doesn't tell anyone to do anything. So they were still just standing around doing nothing, and that's the plan. But also, it makes no sense to anyone he would say it to. So you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Survive the month? Then the witch's curse is lifted? Like, that only makes sense in supernatural stories where it's like, oh, this thing will end somehow in 3 days. It's like, okay. Grumbling, I tried to think of an alternative. I don't know. It's not the most ideal of circumstances, is it? No. It's just so frustrating. I looked at him and he seemed curious, staying quiet so I could continue. Why us? Why me? This is all just so unfair. Right. Well, regrettably, life is sometimes just like that. You may choose to wallow in how this is unfair or do something about it. I'll tell you now, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. And if you do, then I hope that me dying brings something of value to the rest of you to survive. Like Roswell. Leave me behind so that the wolves eat me and then run. Like Roswell's always planning.
This lets you know that he's a cold and calculating person who is willing to make the difficult choices. But also, it just kind of doesn't make any sense.
I don't remember if it was ever like fully verified, but if it is ever fully verified, he has a direct relationship to Roswell explicitly. It'd be the most anti-twist ever, because like in a furry universe where people just are the same species and same color scheme, you're like, oh, they're family.
I thought it was implied that what's her name, his sister, was Roswell's mom.
I think so. Yeah, I think we did verify that. Flourish.
Yes, Flourish.
There are a few things worth dying for, Dave. Don't go throwing your life away. That's on some noble quest to be a hero. And yet you're hoping that there's something to gain from you dying? What happened to surviving? I don't plan on dying, nor do I want to die. I'm just stating fact that if it becomes absolutely necessary, I've already made my peace long before any of you arrived here. I need to learn more about Ren'Py and how it works and how the individual characters work and stuff, because I guess for all I know, maybe it is really primitive and you just like type in this name and color scheme literally every time you ever have to do any line of dialogue. But I kind of thought you'd establish the characters in some part of the code somewhere and then you'd refer to them, essentially, like how I learned to code when I was doing JavaScript and stuff. Like there's a variable that is this character and you refer to that character and that makes the name show up with this spelling and this color. And based on my rudimentary programming experience, Flourish sounds literally impossible to cause as a mistake. I don't understand how Flourish can exist unless it's an intentional twist somehow. That's fake Florencia. Because
you define characters with a sprite and a name that calls that sprite.
Very odd.
So I don't know. Yeah, it is very odd that it exists. It literally, my guess is that if he's writing this in something like Notepad++ or using like a code editor, he typed it wrong once, went, why isn't she showing up? And then just added the entry in and let it autocomplete. And it was just not correct. So
the only way that made sense to me was that like somehow like they're working in some kind of system where you have to like literally type the character's name and the hex code of the color that their text will be, and just copy paste that every time you do any dialogue, which would be hell. That would explain how at the beginning of a scene the spelling's wrong and then just stays wrong for that whole scene when it's not in the rest of the game. Like that's how that mistake would happen. Akin to how I made the mistake of thinking that the bear from Beastars was named Rizzo.
Yeah.
Like that just lasted through multiple drafts of my script until I realized my mistake. And I was like, hang on a minute, that's the rat from Sesame Street. His name's just Riz. Fuck. I don't plan on dying, nor do I want to die. I'm just stating the fact that if it becomes absolutely necessary, I've already made my peace long before any of you arrived here. Like Roswell. I'm actually Roswell. we split. I'm Roswell's stolen adulthood because he's going to die tomorrow. It's weird that they're just the two specific characters that have this exact conversation with you. I see. I didn't know what else to say to that, fidgeting on the spot while Oswin continued to watch me. I felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere, but maybe it was just something that I had to think about some more. There were clues here, but I didn't know how to piece them together, or what they meant. Would it be best to ask Roswell for help? Orlando? Maybe someone like Sal or Dean to get a different perspective. I figured Tyson and Haas wouldn't be much help outside of trying to make me feel better, but that's not what I needed right now. Tyson doesn't have a valuable perspective. Fuck that guy. This is what Dave's thinking about his boyfriend. Well, okay. I guess just one step at a time.
That is not the proper response to this scenario, Dave. That is not.
I wish Dave took the plot one step at a time, because that would imply he took steps.
Yes, exactly. This is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just put one foot in front of the other, and soon I'll still be in the foyer. Agreed. He rose from his spot, and I followed suit. He opened the passage to the library and watched me carefully. Rest well, Dave. See you in the morning. One last thing before you go. Thanatos, right? That's not a question. What about
Thanatos,
him?
right? Am I right?
Am I right? I know he's... Well, but can we trust him? Would it be worth asking him for his opinion on this? Why? He's someone else that, well, has some idea of what's going on, right? It's possible he may have some insights, but do you trust him as much as you trust anyone else here? I don't think I trust you. You stabbed me yesterday or today.
Oswin just like doesn't use his brain, where he's like, Dave, you must use all of the logical and intelligent choices that you can possibly make in order to survive this situation anyway, and then just like...
Why would you ask people things they might know? I don't understand, Dave. Would you like to be stabbed again? What makes you say that? Well, he did play a part in distracting you long enough that I could sneak up behind you. See? He's recalling that information. Are you sure you trust Thanatos, the person who helped me stab you? You should trust me, the guy who stabbed you.
Well, what's very weird is he's like, especially when you consider this, it's like, would you trust my trusted partner who allowed me to implement this plan that I tricked on you? This very reliable little rat that has all of the information that I rely on in order to do my strategies? Anyway, it's like...
He's literally like, he's basically like fucking... I don't know, man. I wouldn't trust Thanatos. He consorts with criminals. Me, I'm the criminal.
Yes.
Like, it's the line that would be said charmingly as a joke amongst a band of vagabonds that are an RPG protagonist group joking with each other, because it's like, why do you trust that guy? He consorts with thieves, says the thief. But it's played straight. It's not a joke. He's just insane. He's just like, he's written in a way where the conversations just don't have a direction they're going in and don't have logical consistency moment to moment or on the on the macro or micro scale. The conversations have almost no internal logic. So Oswald's just gonna call Thanatos' trustworthiness into fucking question via a scene where he did the bad thing.
Yep.
How do you write this? Well, he did play a part in distracting you long enough that I could sneak up behind you. I growled, baring my teeth. My hand went to the spot on my neck where he'd injected me, but he seemed to watch unfazed by how I was reacting. It'd be worth considering, but a talking rat is something, well, not many people would just accept at face value. We're past that, Oswin. What the fuck are you talking about? I guess you're right, but it's not staying a secret forever. What? This wasn't about revealing Thanatos. That's not what the conversation's about, Dave, or Thanatos, or Oswin. That's literally not what we're talking about. We're talking about Dave asking Thanatos for advice about what's happening right now. What the fuck?
It's remarkable how quickly...
You just forgot what we're writing?
It makes me feel better about just losing the plot on this, because the plot itself loses the plot on this story constantly.
Like fucking Roswell's dementia, where he's just fucking resets mid-conversation back to, I can't believe you forgot what he did to us in that one conversation, and just repeats in its entirety in the library that one time. Like, that was an early sign of like how a lot of the conversations just aren't written with a clear goal to even what the conversation or scene is supposed to be. And so it leads to this weird meandering where sentence to sentence, the characters forget what they're talking about. Yep. It's insane. I don't understand. Like, it's fine. There's 1 billion bad fiction on the internet. There's websites that chronicle it all, like on purpose. I mean, it's not supposed to be bad, but I mean, like, there's people who just write shit every day and put it on AO3 and everything. You can just do that. It's fine. Everyone can write stuff. I'm just frustrated by all the people that recommend this, because I'm mad at those people and how, like, they just read these scenes and like, yeah, it's good. I like these characters. I'm like, what characters? Yeah. What scenes? What's even happening in these conversations? They're insane. They're insane people. And you're like, this is the best visual novel. And I'm like, that's... Oh no. Yeah. Like, I don't get mad at creators that make things that I think are bad. I get mad at the people that telling themselves by raising the obviously worse things over the obviously better things, and because they need to stop talking and they're so frustrating together.
It like pollutes the discourse and the field and just makes things bad. Yep. Fully like, see what you're saying.
Like, sincerely, man, these conversations, what the fuck? Like, how do you not notice this, what's happening right now, and think, yeah, it's great. This is basically Handmaid's Tale. This is fucking literature.
This is better than all of the other things that like are very well thought out and intentional and poignant and have things to say.
I just
you need to just let people like things, Keith. You just this has no effect on anyone else. It's like, okay, well, cool.
Yeah, Fury Road. I got bored. I'm gonna go back to Password.
Yeah, Atlas is the #1 watched movie on Netflix this week. It's okay for people to like bad things. This doesn't set a bad precedent.
What is Atlas?
A terrible Jennifer Lopez movie.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
No one has ever heard of it. It came out this week and suddenly was like the biggest movie of all time on Netflix. Just because people watch bad things.
There is that thing that Netflix did figure out how to just be like, hey, a thing is out, and then suddenly everyone's watching it, like Bird Box.
Yep.
But I don't know. I guess you're right, but he's not staying a secret forever. Of course not, but until I can be sure he's not going to incite panic, in the lab he'll stay. That's not what the conversation was about.
Also, didn't Dean in this timeline catch Thanatos at one point? Thanatos existing is not a weird thing to people.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Too many timelines. With that, especially since in our other bad end, I think we went days into the future.
You're right, we did.
We did like 3 or 4 bad ends rapidly when I was drinking.
When I was drinking, make it sound like it was a difficult day for you.
Well, that's a 6-hour video, and what's not immediately apparent is that that's part 2 of our day-long binge we did that day, where we literally just woke up, played Password all day, and then went to bed, and we accomplished shockingly little despite playing it all day. And by the end, I was just continually drinking.
Yeah.
Which is that's the only time I've ever done something like that on a stream specifically, or a recording. But that was when we got hit by the fucking Stolen Valor Tusk Ring, and I just broke.
Oh yeah, you're right. These things are so faded in my memory.
It's apparently the most entertaining video in the series, which makes sense.
Well, thanks everyone.
People loved it.
Thanks everyone for encouraging and engaging with the bad content.
Yeah, thank you for enabling my self-destruction. With that, he slowly closed the bookcase behind him and disappeared out of sight. I sighed, running my hand through my fur and wandering back over to the window. The night seemed calm and quiet, but I found myself scanning the shadows for any flash of white out of worry. It's nighttime! It's nighttime!
It's nighttime.
You're not gonna see a white rabbit in the dark woods at night. That's not how color works. God damn it. It's fine, it's trauma, it's just everything else is stupid, so that feels stupid too, but what if he was out there waiting for me again? What would he do to the others if they went outside as well?
People ask me why I have a low quality standard for furry visual novels. They're like, why do you think this genre isn't amazing? And it's like, well, you know, situations like this.
As I continued to watch the darkness, I could see shadows moving. Nothing white, in stark contrast to the dark, because it's fucking nighttime, Dave. But there was something moving out there. My heart stopped for a second while I checked for wind and saw the trees swaying. Maybe it was just the wind. Maybe it was wildlife. Forcing myself to think that it wasn't the worst case scenario, I backed away from the window and headed to my room. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Dave. Don't get too worried, because you might do something proactive instead of being cowed back into not asking anyone anything and not doing anything and going back to bed. You almost considered asking Thanatos questions about stuff, but instead, go to bed.
It became a weird question about revealing Thanatos to everyone.
Yeah, you might cause the letter we haven't used yet route where Thanatos is revealed early and dies. And then we have to play it out in real time for 30 days. Closing the door behind me, I collapsed into it with a sigh. Things were looking up, right? No. You were almost murdered, like, yesterday. We're making progress with everyone. Knowing stuff? No. And I was getting some answers as to... Oh, wait, this is fast forward. Yay!
The most satisfaction you've ever displayed.
Oh, wait. Benson and Osmond marched in the foyer, looking around at the rest of us. I think the road might have just blown up. It's day 15.
Very possible.
Might be the way we woke up and got back out of bed, because it's not day 16 yet. It didn't transition.
Everyone all right?
They look fine to me, Benson. Go find out what that was. Yes, the road.
Very well, sir.
Wait. Why? What if it's, you know, him, the rabbit? Calmly, Benson reached into his waistcoat and pulled out what seemed to be a small revolver. Jet black with a slim design. Different from the one that I saw in my vision of his death.
Is this a third gun?
I think that's
because there's the rifle and the other gun.
I think the revolver's the original small gun, but I'm not sure.
No, because I thought the gun that killed him was like silver, not black.
Oh. I don't know. I don't want to check.
Yeah,
you
I don't care anymore.
You Google it. I'm not checking.
No.
But this is extremely funny reassurance because Benson tends to be murdered by Jack.
Yeah.
While having a gun.
I do think
like he loses a gun versus knife fight against Jack normally.
I guess we did learn that there was an armory. So maybe he just got this one out of the armory today for reasons.
Knowing that there's an armory completely defeats the purpose of trying to even establish how many guns are in play in the original like mystery sense, what like they were doing before. Like it used to be important how many, like whenever they established a gun. Like there was the gun that killed Benson, and there was another gun that was buried in the yard supposedly.
Yes,
we got from Oz's dialogue, but that's irrelevant if there's just an armory somewhere. So
I still can't believe the gun is buried in the yard. I'm still like trying to process that there's an armory, but there's a gun buried in the yard.
No, it genuinely always feels like it was just written stream of consciousness. Like it's like earlier in the story there was like an X number of guns that were going to come into play in various ways because like he probably heard of Chekhov's gun once and didn't read what it was. And then later on, when it comes necessary to have a war happen, they're like, oh, there's an armory. Oh, no, it's locked. That's raised stakes, right? But that means that the guns that we were counting before never mattered because there was an armory the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's completely pointless to try to establish which guns are in play for a mystery in the first place. And you built one of the primary universal mysteries that's in every route is Benson and his gun. The gun that kills Benson mystery. And it just doesn't matter. Wee! And then the bad guys just bring more guns, so like it's all gone. Like the whole point of establishing X number of guns is to have a locked room mystery. Like, I just watched Death on the Nile with furries like 3 days ago, and like it really matters. Like literally, like the guy gets shot with a tiny pea shooter dumb gun that's like a woman's like pocket gun that is like 22 caliber, and it's like very ineffective. And then somebody else gets killed by a 22 caliber gun. And that's important because somebody else has like a pistol-ass pistol. And so it couldn't have been that gun because that's a pistol, like a real James Bond pistol, not a 22 caliber pocket gun. And like, that's a huge amount of the mystery in the plot. And that's such a basic element of every single part of this entire genre is the murder weapon. And there only being so many of them around. And yes, step one is always like fucking like Glass Onion, they're on an island. Murder on the Nile, they're on a boat. Like people can't come and go from this setting, and X number of items are around, and you can throw stuff overboard to hide it, but you can't just like a helicopter.
The resources are the solution in a lot of ways. Is like this is how you actually litigate the mystery. Yeah,
like it's not about realism. It's about the basic fact that like you need to constrain your narrative and what the elements in it are so the audience knows what's at play so they can in any way even grapple with what the story and the mystery are. Because if the mystery just takes place in New York, fuck. There's just infinite things there. No, you got to put them on a boat. Like, that's why they work that way. That's why it's always a strange rich man's estate in the mountains, and we're all stuck here. And you probably don't contrive an insane exploding bridge necessarily, but the fucking detective or whatever like forbids anyone to leave and knows who they all are or something.
Yeah, it's like a police barricade or something. Like,
and you in some way force everyone to stay so that the mystery can play out. It's just so important that it works out that way. Like, even indirectly in Knives Out, all of the suspects are bound to that location by the fact that they're all trying to get the will.
Yep.
So they can't leave, and they're not gonna go to fucking Minnesota because they're trying to get the inheritance. You have to constrain the cast and the object somehow, or just nothing works. Calmly, Benson reached into his waistcoat, blah blah blah, small revolver.
Worry not. I'm not planning to go unarmed. But I'd suggest keeping it together for the time being, just in case the worst happens.
Without breaking stride, Benson walked right out of the front door with his pistol in hand, closing it behind him.
Very convenient.
Are we just meant to wait here? I could make everyone some tea or something while we wait.
Is that smart? Like, to split off just like that?
We could just not split off. Just let's hang out and make tea, guys. Where were you going? Where else were you going? As long as we stay together, we should be all right. Or at the very least, not going off alone. What a weird sentence.
Very.
It's the usual thing where people's dialogue is often finished halfway through, and then he just rephrases
keep talking.
it, essentially.
Yeah.
Their mouth just keeps going. And I'm like, why'd they keep talking?
It reminds me of when like old 90s dubs of like anime and stuff, like you had to fill the voice, the lip flaps.
They're figuring out how to match. They try to figure out the lips flaps. They might just make a weird vocalization or something.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? All right. Well, Haas, mind giving me a hand with tea? You want to hold hands while you do it?
Is Haas in this scene?
And then it cuts to Dean.
And the Dean comes in. Okay.
No response from Haas. Just cuts to Dean instead.
I don't think there is actually a limit to how many characters you can portray on screen in Renpeat. Maybe I'm wrong, but like you could just have Haas in the background.
You can.
He could just be sitting there.
Very, very occasionally you'll see huge ensemble cast moments in some of these games every now and then. It's just really cluttered, and very clearly this game uses 3 designated locations and just always copy paste those 3 locations. So that's the real reason, is they've constrained themselves to 3 slots. But talking to Haas and then having Haas not respond, and also just responding to that line by cutting to Dean, is extremely funny. It's just cinematographically fucked.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. Is there.
I'm just imagining a reverse shot where it just never cuts to the person actually being spoken to.
Yeah. It's like sitting through the beginning of Reservoir Dogs where they're all arguing about the tip, and it's just cutting between the characters, but it keeps never cutting to Steve Buscemi, who is the focus of the conversation. Even then, at that point, it would feel like oddly intentional, like something's up. Is there anything we should do while we wait? We don't need weapons, will we? I do not believe so. There was just a horrible explosion and several attempts on our lives recently. Alright, well, I guess all we can do is wait it out. That's most of my dialogue. That's most of all of our dialogues. Benson's gonna
just
be alright
wait.
too, right? What if we kept waiting? Alright, all things considered, I believe he'll be fine. Even without a gun, Benson is more than capable. No, he's not. For now, it's as you say. We can only wait until he returns. This is just fucking hilarious, knowing every ending of this game and how Benson and Jack are not a hand. He is not capable of taking Jack without a gun. He can't even take Jack with a gun usually. Even in the ending where he's fending off Jack behind the house, he's somehow failing to kill Jack continuously. Jack's just like fucking nothing personal, kidding all of his bullets or something. Like,
yeah,
it's wild. He still just has a knife. And so we did. The time ticked by while waiting for Benson's return. Some of us had tea to try to calm our nerves, but my eyes were trained on the front door, listening for the sound of a gunshot or anything else that might hint at danger nearby, watching for the very moment Benson would come through that door, worried that he might not. Yay! Oops, I clicked it wrong. Click, 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 click. It's at this point that I'd noticed Osmond was just gone, having moved on already to bed, I assumed. They just established that the road's out, I think.
Yeah.
Run along now, Dave. It's all right.
Yeah. All right. Good night, Benson.
Good night. See you in the morning.
In one motion, I opened the door and closed it behind me with my foot. Dave? My reply came in the form of just marching forward and hugging him tightly around the chest, almost clinging desperately to him. It was the second time that I'd done this in a couple days.
Dave is just a battered woman.
You
know what I mean?
It's not great.
No, it's really not.
I'm also just always distracted by the fact that, like, Tyson's fucking sweatpants are so loose that the waistband does not actually cling to his waist, so it's literally being held up by his bulge.
This is definitely not racially coded in any way.
He's just got such a fucking massive throbber that he's just always holding up his pants purely with his dick and not via the actual mechanics of how pants work, because it's physically hanging. Look how loose it is.
His baggy basketball shorts are just coincidentally an aesthetic choice.
Yeah, he's got baggy basketball shorts and a tank top, and when he's wearing these clothes, they're sagging.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Well, it was the second time I'd done this in a couple days, but I didn't care. He was the one thing that I thought of when I needed comfort, and I needed that more than anything else. Why would you care?
Yeah.
Why would you get self-conscious that you've hugged someone twice in 2 days? That's lower than normal, honestly. His hands found my shoulders and patted me gently, possibly still stunned from how suddenly I'd barged into his room. Hug me back properly.
Oh, I thought we were in Dave's room, not Tyson's room.
Maybe. I didn't
Because
check.
I thought Tyson came to the door, but he just said how quickly I had barged into his room.
Yeah, I guess we went to Tyson's room.
Huh.
He peeled my arms from around him and wrapped his arms around me in the same way I'd done to him. Better? I hugged him back around the neck, rubbing my cheek against his and sighing out. Scared.
He sighed out again.
Yep.
Remember that? Remember when that was the fun thing that we made fun of in the script?
Remember, back when that was the noteworthy quirk, because it stood out against all the other quality writing. What if... Hey, it's fine. I'm scared too. We squeezed each other tight before I pulled away enough to look him in the eye. Can I stay here with you? Just for tonight? Why the fuck would I say no? I don't know. God, you're hopeless. He let me go and wandered away to turn off the light, watching as I crawled into bed and leaving the covers pulled back for him. Once the light was off, he crawled in next to me and lay flat on his back, staring at the ceiling. Gonna be alright? Yeah, not the first time we've shared a bed. Won't be the last, probably. Meaning? Meaning roll the fuck over. Going in. He flipped me around so my back was to him and cuddled me close from behind, pressing himself as close as he could get to me. He sighed out quietly next to my ear and lightly rubbed my chest. Good night, Dave. Night, Tyson. Soon after that, the exhaustion caught up to me, and I fell asleep in the arms of who mattered most to me at that moment. It just occurred to me that it's been so long since we played this game. The last time we played this, we were in the middle of Deadlaws.
Yes, we were in the middle of Deadlaws.
Because at the time, my goal was to binge through this game early in Deadlaws and just finish it, so we could then live in a world that's post-password but currently Deadlaws. We have Deadlaws purity. But instead, we just didn't do anymore.
Yep.
While I slept, I wasn't resting. So anyway, if you missed it, go check out Deadlaws. It's over now.
On No Playing Games, our tabletop channel, where the content that we make is better than this.
Check out our Gay Cowboys tabletop RPG series. It has, holy fuck, so much fan art. That was terrifying. Oh, the one piece of fan art got converted into a fan dub YouTube video by a voice actor, and that joke dub of a Deadlaws comic now has more views than the entirety of the Deadlaws series combined.
And they didn't credit us.
Yeah, it's not credited to Deadlaws. There's no context. It's completely based entirely in, like, relatively dense, like, narrative context to even understand the joke. So, like, the video doesn't even make sense when you see it out of context. It just doesn't... It's just weird. I scrolled through and I saw some comments like, I don't understand. Please help me. I've been thinking about this for days and I don't understand what's happening. What is Twink Honey? Who are these characters? And I'm like, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Content scrapers should, they deserve the lowest layer of hell. The fact that this happened made me really mad and I really hate them. And I can't believe this happened. So
yeah, it is what it is. It's just good to say where a thing is from, at least.
Yep.
And in this case, it's just like, this is a video with like 50,000 views that's riffing on a joke from a video that has like 2,000 views. So no one understands the joke. So what is it even doing? It's very strange. Anyway, while I slept, I wasn't resting. Every day seemed to have more questions rather than answers, and those questions worried me to my core as to why they had even come up. The syringe, the vial, the rabbit. Even Oswin's rat had me swimming in both worry and confusion. What did it all mean? How did it all connect? Why did I feel like I was in the center of it all? Then there was the vault. That was so important to have... What was so important to have stored on the other side? What exactly was the thing that made me see the things if I did not see the room itself? But more importantly, who was marked for death? Why? He almost never thinks that. To the point where that's why I forgot it was even a plot point for most of the story. Dave's suddenly thinking about it now. Tyson was still behind me, holding me close to his front. I could feel his muzzle resting against my head, and he was snoring softly. There was a few times he'd fallen asleep basically on me, but something about this time felt different. Maybe I'd just fallen in love with him properly, and this was something good enough to make me reconsider getting up.
People in this universe just do not function.
Are we in love now?
I've fallen in love with him properly, the way one does out with their abuser.
Or maybe it was the fact that he's pressed up right under my tail that part of me considered taking him up on his offer to let off some steam then and there. I can feel his bulgy on my asshole.
This is the best route of this novel. This is the best romance.
Everyone said this is the best route. This is the best written character, supposedly. She's literally better written when you're not playing his route.
It sucks.
Until he's suddenly homophobic on day 23 with no context, which was weird. Part of me wanted it, but it was the same part that felt guilty the way I wanted him didn't seem to be the way he wanted me back. As I pulled away, Ty made to grab me for me lazily in his sleep, and mumbling something incoherent. Not that he managed to keep me in place, but instead curling up into the now empty space beside him, unaware I was gone. No, it's 2 sentences. I was like... Once I was up, I put on some clothes, assuming that what I needed was a walk, just clear my head.
It is very satisfying to hit these moments where it's like, okay, we can just skip.
You just click the save 30 minutes button.
Yep.
Benson scratched his mustache, sighing out. There it is.
Although with how much of a shut-in Oswin is, it's a wonder he notices anything these days.
Is that why the security system is there? So we can keep tabs while he's safely in his lab?
That's what he'd claim. Although to be fair, I was the one that did most of the installing. I'm a certified electrician and carpenter, Dave. Can't be too careful when what visitors you do have are those with a lot of money and power, with rarely the wisdom to know how to use either. Oswin's friends suck. We hate them.
You need security because your friends have too much money and power? It doesn't feel like it super applies. Because they're so far removed from their influence and power when they just go to someone's mansion in the mountains.
Yeah.
Like, they're just there as a person. I'm talking about Orlando's dad again? The person that none of the security works on?
Among other things, it's no different to when their parents were around, given the company was much the same.
Imagine if they actually had an anti-Memphis security system that was in any way prepared for him, knowing that he was coming for literally years.
Yep.
They imply it's for him, but no. There's nothing about this house that can resist Memphis, apparently.
He's unkillable, except for all of the things that kill him.
Baja Blast will kill him, Dave.
It will. He's allergic to the blue food coloring. You know, that thing that dragons are known to be allergic to. I hate this. Oh, didn't realize that the text progressed. I hate when it does this.
Consider it part of the package deal with being the package deal being wealthy grants you, my boy.
I'm kind of thankful that I guess my family wasn't well off. And my dad's dead.
Weird take, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Also, you were so rich.
Yeah.
I've seen your house. Not even sitcoms would try to tell you that that living room is middle class.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. From what I understood, your mother had quite the salary and your father had a well-paying job as well.
I guess that's true. I never really saw it that way.
Feelings don't care about your facts, Benson.
You're actually extremely privileged, Dave. Oh.
Rarely do those with money understand just how fortunate they are over those that do not have it. Much in the same way, those that do not have money have no grasp of what it's like to have it. Both sides are the same, Dave.
That was it was weird to keep talking at that part. And
Yes.
be like, the other side of the coin. I'm like, I think that anyone who doesn't have money is extremely aware of whenever they have money.
As they say, ignorance is bliss.
That's
the message we
insane.
should take from this.
That's the kind of line that informs all the weird, like, accidental propaganda throughout the game. We're like, what the
Yep.
fuck? Ignorance is bliss? When you're poor? Do you think poor people are ignorant of their poorness? Like, they're just oblivious to the fact that they could have ever had
They're
more money and
happy
what
if
that
they
might
have
be
no
like?
idea that disparity exists.
When you don't have money, you're thinking about how to deal with that all the time. It's extremely the opposite of ignorance is bliss. It's the most present thing. You're probably working multiple jobs. Like, this is insane. This is supposed to be the most mature character in the game. Like, this is like the father figure to the father figure and the authority on everything. And he's
Benson is a boomer.
yeah,
like,
he is,
literally.
he is a boomer and he's a rich guy's butler and everything. Like, he is a weird detached person. But it's really difficult to process how anyone could say something this insane about poor people.
Extremely.
Even when they are rich. Like, it's not even like weird, like, rich people essentialism or anything.
Yeah.
Like, they're just too dumb to manage their finances the way that people often say when they're rich. It's like, poor people don't know they're poor. Whoa.
Yeah. I don't even think it's saying poor people don't know they're poor. It's just like poor people are happier when they don't think about the disparity, which is like
they don't. It's like the idea that they just don't know what they don't have, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
no,
like
no,
a lack of
that's
class
not how that
consciousness
works.
makes you happy. It's like I don't know about that.
It's just rent, Michael. How much could it cost? $10? I don't think that's right at all.
And this is where the 18-year-old with no concept of money or privilege at all schools this guy on how class consciousness also works. I like that they're both wrong from different perspectives. It's very flavorful.
It makes it hard to tell which one is written to be wrong.
Yeah.
And which one is just accidentally wrong because the writer's also wrong. I'm scared. Well, Tyson was dirt poor, and I shared what I had with him because it felt fair that way. In Orlando, he always had neat toys, but he'd share them with me. New games and stuff.
Then I'm glad that the newer generation is at least somewhat more aware of those around them, or perhaps it's just your natural magnetism. Natural magnetism at work, Dave. Dave, the most charisma-less character in anything ever.
The idea of Dave's natural magnetism is so upsetting to me right now.
You're just so rizzed
Also,
up, Dave.
That's crazy that Zoomers are sharing now. We didn't have sharing when I was a kid. This is famously how these stereotypes work. What the fuck are you talking about?
The wealth disparity was not high. We lived in a time of abundance, but now that we have destroyed the planet for you, it's nice that you're learning to share.
We didn't invent sharing until 1996. Don't look at the Christmas Story. Don't look at it. It could be, but I don't think I'll ever know. Even Dave agrees that he has natural magnetism. That's why all his friends keep leaving.
From what I've seen, you've done well in rallying your friends together. After all, they were willing to search the house for you in hopes of finding a gun they did not know even existed.
Because you said there was a scary gun. Where'd that gun even end up? Just with Osmond, right?
Right, let's see. I believe the night you were looking for the gun, I had it in my possession. I handed it off to Oswin the day after.
Wait, didn't...
What?
I thought the explicit
What?
point
Wait,
of...
it just is Benson's gun?
The thing that's confusing... Okay, so this also beats out that weird there's only two guns in the story thing. But the whole point of trying to find the gun was I thought that we knew Benson didn't have it.
Yeah, like I thought the whole point was that we solved Benson's murder by undoing it, and then we're like, well, we got to figure out where that gun hat was that killed Benson in the other timeline.
Because we had determined
trust.
it wasn't Benson who killed himself and ostensibly was not his gun.
It like very specifically was not Benson's gun. That was like the whole point? If the answer was that fucking basic, then what the fuck was the point? It just was his gun the whole time. He just had a gun. Okay?
I also thought explicitly Oswin didn't want to have a gun. Wasn't that also a thing that was set up?
Benson?
No, not Benson, sorry, Oswin. He was like, I don't need one. I don't remember.
Maybe?
Maybe I'm making that up. It's been too long. I'm not going to try to remember shit.
I think they swapped it out in this timeline and had Oswin be the one that saves us with a gun against Jack.
Gotcha.
Which is weird because Benson and Oswin are not like interchangeable characters.
Yeah.
But they also had Oswin and Tyson be interchangeable with the fucking needle, which is weird.
Yeah.
Granted, it wasn't the only gun I had with me, as I was cleaning both his and mine that day. Proper gun maintenance is a good habit to practice.
Swapping characters and having them do the same thing is inherently also very frustrating because it's like, it's a thing that Telltale games do because of limitations, because they have to do a physical like adventure game that's like 3D characters and stuff doing set locations and storylines, and so they swap. So like, oh, who survived in chapter 1? Well, they're both going to show up at this point in chapter 2, and they're both going to die at this point in chapter 3. That's how they clean it up in the Mass Effect sort of way. In a visual novel, you could just write anything,
Yeah.
So you don't have to just recreate the same scene with a different character and break the character in doing so.
Yeah, it also just belies like in misunderstanding that like actions mean things in stories like this.
For
like
the characters even.
Yeah, like a character doing something says something about them. So when you make it interchangeable, it's just like, oh, these characters are functions more so. And when I say functions, I don't mean like interesting functions of the plot. I mean, or of storytelling. I mean, literally they just exist to do something for the story. And like, that's it. They don't exist outside of that, which is just kind of weird and distressing. Yeah, all right.
Proper gun maintenance.
I had to reread that sentence to make sure that I didn't. Yeah, that it didn't continue.
I almost jumped when I heard the door shut behind me shift, stepping away from it as someone stepped out to join us in the morning air. What's this? Having a conversation at this hour.
I believe Dave was just having some trouble sleeping and wanted someone to talk to.
Hardly surprising. How much danger do you think we're in? Like, surely you've been in dangerous situations before, right?
That's an interesting question. I do
It's
believe
not.
that most of the situations Osmond has found himself in exclude all the bad ones I've circumvented from him noticing.
I think that was supposed to be excluding? I don't know. I don't
I'm
really
not
know
a
what was trying to be communicated there.
He's just filling words. He just types, just keep moving, forward momentum, keep writing. I'm not a child, Benson. I'll have you know that I know full well when you've been up to something for my own good. You can't know when you haven't.
Then I shall keep this in mind the next time Roswell makes a pass at your cereal, and I'll let you step in personally.
That's
not a bad situation. That's a minor annoyance because he has a sweet tooth and it's his one character trait.
It'd just be super weird to be like intercepting that stuff as a secret agent.
Don't worry. We're talking about horrible, bad, terrible situations that come up in life. And this guy is so fucking privileged that the worst thing that could ever happen to him is that cereal is taken from him.
Osmond huffed, shaking his head. That boy will learn one day where the line is drawn.
It's funny. You see, it's funny, Keith. It's funny. We're laughing.
But is today that day, sir? I'd hardly think you'd be so magnanimous to drop all of your strong opinions after that show at breakfast.
It may just be. It's something that all things considered, I'd like to square away with him just in case the worst happens. What? He's gonna die. I don't think his sugar habits matter. Not that I don't like the idea of you two playing nice, but why are you awake? What a sentence.
Dave is just not a person. Like, he just doesn't, his brain doesn't function. It's funny because Dave's neurodivergence is like depression, but like he acts like the most neurodivergent character in anything ever just by nature of the fact that he just doesn't, his brain does not work the way that a normal person's brain does.
It's just Dave bot activate beep boop. My job is to transition this conversation to the next topic, so I will just make a sentence that mentions current topic, but then actually mentions new topic. And it's just completely unrelated, non sequitur, bizarre transition because they just decided it's time to talk about why he's awake.
Yeah,
and you could just it's actually less weird to just abruptly ask. Much like you, I had too much on my mind to sleep.
And true to any other day, you put on your lab coat rather than walk around in your pajamas. We can't draw a second sprite.
I'll have you know that when I wear this lab coat, I intend to work. The day I take The day I take this off for good is the day I finally stop actively working on things. You understand, right, Dave? You wear that orange hooded sweater a fair bit, and I doubt you have more than one.
I think that
We're
this
just commenting
literally,
on the sprites.
yeah, I think it's literally someone was like, why don't they change their outfits? They're here for 30 days. And he was like, shit, I can pump out a Patreon update for this. Hell yeah.
Very strange. I guess that's kind of the same, but mostly just comfortable. It's not really even mine, although what it's not really even mine. Whose jacket are you wearing every day, Dave? Although I guess I've had it long enough that it may as well be. Okay, I'm just gonna blow past that. Pardon? Oh, the orange hoodie is Tyson's, or was.
What?
What the fuck?
This is just new information.
What was he wearing in the flashbacks?
A Black Organization 13 coat.
No, me, not Tyson. It would be fitting if Tyson was wearing an orange hoodie in that previous flashback instead of the
That's
fucking
how
jacket.
you do
Yes.
this.
Yes, no, that would be correct. If you're going to establish that the hoodie was Tyson's, you really should have the flashbacks of Tyson have him in Dave's hoodie, because that's,
to portray a
Tyson,
chronological.
the only character with a different sprite in the entire game, basically, that isn't bedtime sprite, and you gave him edgy streetwear and not the thing you specifically set up as being his clothes that he had before he met Dave. I don't. Oh, this is such a fuck up. It's such a fucking pink unicorn.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Oh, no. Just some old thing that he stretched out from wearing it too long. I just sort of got given it one day and found it comfy enough that he let me keep it. We're in the same route that has the flashbacks that show he didn't have this jacket. Like, obviously other clothes exist, but if you're gonna suddenly throw this at us, why not, like, set it up in the other flashback and be like, oh, it's his jacket! Wow. And then it would even be kind of cool. It'd be like, it would be subtly set up earlier.
Yeah.
Like, wait, isn't that Dave's jacket? And they wouldn't comment on it, because why would they bring it up? Because they're not experiencing the flashback the way we are as new information. And then it gets brought up just offhandedly like 10 days later, and you're like, oh, that's what was happening.
I have a big tangent that I want to go on right now.
That requires it to be planned.
I have a really big tangent I want to go on right now, but it's like, I also just want to be done with this. So I saw Furiosa yesterday. And Furiosa's a very good movie that has like extraordinarily cogent and economical storytelling, where when characters die, it does not like linger on them dying. When there is character growth, it doesn't like explain what's going on. It just shows us a thing. And there's a good moment, and I don't want to. I'm going to speak very generally, but like a character is clearly falling in love with another character, so they reach out and they touch their hand. And that's all you need. That's all you need to see. You see the way the characters act before this scene, and then you see the way they act after this scene, and you can tell, oh, they're in love. That's how this works. This game doesn't do that. Instead, it just explains everything at length, just constantly being like, well, that was Tyson's, but he stretched it out, so he couldn't wear it anymore, which gave him a logical reason to give it to me, and that shows that we're closer friends because over time, but then it cuts back to the point where it would have shown us that, and it just doesn't show us it. And it's like, it just makes me so sad that something like Furiosa...
all very like, oh, wow, we're flashing back to Grindelwald and Dumbledore, back when they were gay for each other. And they're not.
Yeah, and they're not. And it just like, it goes to show, it just makes me very sad at the state of things that like something like this has a sustained fandom. And obviously it's not making as much money as Furiosa or whatever. But then like,
Furiosa's not making as much money at this point.
Furiosa is only at 32 million for the opening weekend, which is really sad. It's a really good movie. People should go see it. I think that it's...
As soon as I finish literally as soon as I finish my essay and upload it, I'm just gonna go watch Fury Road and then go to the theater and watch Furiosa.
You should do it the
that's my
opposite
reward.
direction. You should do that the opposite direction. You should watch Furiosa and then immediately watch Fury Road. Because Furiosa very directly leads into Fury Road in it's not a prequel, it's Act 1 and 2 of Fury Road.
That's neat.
Yes.
And then,
it's very good.
After that, I'll finally go back and watch any Mad Max movies.
Yeah.
Which I've been meaning to do since Fury Road and still haven't done.
People should watch Furiosa. It's very good. It's also, there's been a lot of dooming about its performance. It is actually making a relatively fine amount of money. It's just Memorial Day has been bad for years. So it is what it is.
Oh no.
But one of the things I was going to say is like, I get really sad when I think about how something like this that just beefs storytelling so hard has this like really long sustained fandom of like people that still are sycophants for it. And of course, this is like basically free and it's a niche submarket, so it's fine. But then I think about how like Lorelei and the Laser Eyes just came out and it's easily my game of the year. It's a beautiful masterpiece of a video game.
Like,
and
please
you
click
can't
on
even
these videos. They won't click on them. Guys, you're ignoring my favorite game that I've played recently. Watch Lorelei.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is a genuine masterpiece. It is one of the best puzzle games ever made. It is a beautiful piece of art that like has things to say and is incredibly well structured and consciously designed. And this is the thing that gets a fandom, and we won't get a fandom for Lorelei. Yeah. And that's sad and scary. And like, Lorelei's $20, but
I don't begrudge creators the fandoms that they get. I begrudge the fans for their behavior.
Yes, yeah. I just begrudge people for their low standards and their inability to step outside of their like immediate comfort zones. I think that's just really distressing. So when you have something like this that like really is just so sloppy and people are like, well, it's just an indie thing. It's so easy to love. It's so charming. Yeah. I'm like, there are a million really charming things that need your money to survive. And you're giving it to this instead of those things. And that's shameful. That's like very distressing. I'm
frustrated that this is the worst way to convey this information.
Yes.
It's just randomly bring it up to some dudes in a random day where you just randomly feel like having a conversation because you just decided to comment on like the nature of how sprites don't change, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like a worst case scenario where like, yes, Tyson has a flashback where he's wearing something else and it's not this hoodie. But also like the stereotypical good way to do this that's at least acceptable would be to like have a flashback where Tyson gives Dave the hoodie, probably in like an emotional scene.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's where the hoodie came from. It would also be decent just to like set up the hoodie in flashbacks to be like, oh wait, that's Tyson's hoodie. Whoa, and then you just put it together yourself.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Instead, all the information possibly surrounding this all contradicts this information, and then it's just told to us one day.
Yeah.
On day 16 when they feel like it. Because there's no stakes most of the story, and no momentum, and no character arcs, and nothing's really going anywhere, information is presented in a random order whenever they get around to it. Conversations just like, they just feel like setting something up here and there. And it's really unclear which ones were planned, and they were just like, where do I put this? Here, I guess. And which ones are just like, they just were made up on the spot. And that's why it contradicts everything surrounding it, because it wasn't planned out. Like, that's one of the main reasons to plan things out in narratives in general, is that if you know where everything's going and what things mean already, then you don't have to constantly worry about whether the information contradicts stuff, because you sorted all your information out first and then started writing all the stuff, and you know what the truth is. Whereas if you're making it up as you go, you'll just like think of stuff, and then you won't really. Now you've written so many words that you're like, I don't know if this contradicts anything else.
Yeah, and I think that part of the interesting thing about this too that makes it convenient is like, if you plan out everything ahead of time in some way, or at least write yourself an outline, when you do make a mistake, it is easier to correct because you know where you need to go to correct it. Yeah. Which is like, you don't cause like a cascade of like, if I change this, then this happens, and this happens. It's like, oh, well, I wrote within the guidelines, so like changing the variables isn't too hard to do.
Let's see. Oh, the orange hoodie is Tyson's, or was. Just some old thing that he stretched out from wearing it too long. I just sort of got given to me one day, and I found it comfy enough that he let me keep it. That's such a boring explanation. It's also just an ancient hoodie at that point, if it was old when he got it, like, damn. Ah, so like a hand-me-down. Can't say I've ever had that experience.
No, that's because your upbringing told you there was no sense in not buying everything new.
Maybe I'd understand it better if I had siblings growing up, but my parents bought all my things new as well.
Well, as someone that grew up with siblings, handing down old clothes and the like was hardly a foreign concept.
Oswin grew up with siblings, so you can't predicate this on just simply having siblings.
When times were tough, you made do.
Like now? How do you mean? Although I suppose in a broad sense that times are tough, but not for financial reasons. Oswin looked at Benson, giving him a quick study before nodding his head. I'm up now. Get some sleep, Benson. Chances are we're going to have quite a day ahead of us.
Well, I don't think I'll be getting much sleep. I will, however, take you up on your offer. Good night, gentlemen.
Whatever time it is. Benson gave me a short bow before wandering back inside, leaving me alone with Oswin outside again. He gestured me towards the edge of the deck where he stood before and looked out over the backyard. It's his turn. The only face Dave ever makes.
This is the only CG we ever see in the fucking game.
He's not wearing a hoodie.
I hate this game so much.
He's not
so
wearing
bad.
the hoodie we just spent the whole scene talking about him wearing. He's clearly just wearing a t-shirt.
It's just stupid. It's just a bad game. It's just poorly written garbage.
It's just not a very good drawing, so the idea that it doesn't match can't be excused by, like, oh, but it's so high effort, and they have to, that's the only CG they have for the scene. It's like, it's a fucking, it's scribble arms, like, it's just, you can just draw a hoodie to make it match the scene. It was a solid couple of minutes before he said anything, quietly, as if he was trying to keep me calm. You left an impression on me last we spoke. Like, a few hours ago? That's right. I went into the lab and asked Thanatos what his take on it was. Right after I dismissed you for being a dumb fuck for suggesting it. I stayed quiet, expecting him to elaborate on his own.
Did he switch the topic to whether or not we should fucking introduce Thanatos to our friends rather than just asking him a question because he just wanted Oswin to be the one to have a change of heart here? So that he could have this conversation? I doubt it's this well thought up, thought out ahead, but still.
If you try to apply intent to these moments, then it basically comes out as like Oswin intentionally just jangling keys in front of in front of Dave, who has no attention span, and he'll just forget what the conversation's about. It's like he just forcefully changes the topic by just pretending we were talking about something else the moment he asks a question that he doesn't want to answer.
It's like weird because it's like Dave gaslights himself in a way here, which is just really weird.
So strange.
It's really strange, yeah.
As I thought, he wasn't exactly helpful insofar as knowing anything new, or at least that's what he says. Great, I guess. Oh, cheer up, boy. It's not all bad. We have a few tricks up our sleeves yet. Tricks? You're starting to sound like Roswell. Wait, there's no payoff? They redirect away from the topic as if it's stupid, and also seemingly forget that we were talking about it. Then we bring it up again, but there is no new information still. So the end of the conversation was supposed to be that he does successfully redirect Oswin to ask Thanatos, and then he gets nothing. But then they just fucked up writing all of that, so it's confusing and it seems like they just forgot, but there's also still no information. I chuckled weakly, shaking my head. Or maybe it's a bore thing. Is this the part where I jokingly call you a racist? Stop.
You jokingly call him a racist because racism isn't valid, apparently.
Just keep Just
The
don't.
cops are just different in Australia.
Don't keep writing wacky furry racism. It's just not a good approach. It's not a good direction to go in. I guess you would. Like, I remember being in high school and white people joking like, that's racist at each other. It's really tone deaf when you grow up. You're like, hang on a minute.
Is really tone deaf in a story that is weirdly racially coded and also propaganda. Like, at a certain point, you need to stop dismissing it as a joke when it does seem to fuel in-game prejudice. It is weird. It is a weird thing to do.
That's part of why people usually grow out of that weird joke that happens in high school, is because like you realize racism's just real.
Yeah.
And like not a weird little joke. And also some of the people that joke about it are racists.
Yes.
I guess you would. Would it help if I told you a secret? Perhaps what's behind the vault door? Probably not. Knowing what's behind...
What if I gave you more information, Dave? No thanks. I'm perfectly fine. Benson told me earlier, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I'm poor.
Imagine if that was what he said here. That's okay. I'm poor.
Knowing what's behind it isn't going to stop Jack and Orlando's dad from coming to take it anyway, right? Perhaps, but you might then understand why I'm very much interested in keeping it out of his hands. It's only the core mystery of the fucking game, Dave. Like, goddamn. I play fucking, like, refuse the call protagonists in our tabletop RPGs, and I don't do this. How bad can it be that you're putting us at risk by not just handing it over? I don't think Memphis really cares about what I've hidden behind that door. But if he were to find out, then, well, you'd have a lot more death on our hands. I grumbled for a bit before sighing out, shooting him a sideward glance. Okay, fine, what's behind the door? Behind that door is my greatest work, and my greatest failure. It's every dead baby. A single dose vial of something that I should never have created. A poison? A cure for life.
Why? The thing here is that, like,
I created Maze Runner, the death cure.
I don't understand. I think that this character comes off as like it's trying to sound so profound, where it's like, the bad thing isn't a virus, it's a cure. And it's like, well, or you're just a fucking idiot. like, or you're just dumb and this is stupid.
It's just, he just created The Last of Us. That's what happened.
Yeah.
I frowned, trying to think about how this could be a bad thing, but it continued before I could raise the question. Or at least, it should be, when in reality it isn't. So it is a poison. Not in the conventional sense, but let me explain it a different way. Like, actually explain it maybe, instead of all the not explaining I'm doing like a fucking madman. What do you imagine would happen if a type of medicine existed that cured everything and anything? Well, that'd be great, right? No one would need to be sick, you could save countless lives. You'd think so, but alas, that's not the case. But it literally cures everything, doesn't it? The actual medicine would, yes, but think about how pharmaceutical companies would make their money. They make their money off the sick, of those that can afford to buy medicine that may not work. Dave, sick people get desperate to do anything they can to survive. For every one of those people, another is in a position to take advantage. Take advantage how? Fakes. Cheaper alternatives that people would turn to only to be given a saline solution for their efforts when they can't afford the real thing.
This isn't how generic drugs work. This also just isn't how the pharmaceutical industry works.
Yeah.
What?
You can't provide an effective medicine for anything, because what if people get tricked into taking salt water? You think about that? Bet you didn't think about that. That's not the real dilemma in real life even. I was waiting to see where it was going, because I'm like, okay, here we go. This is a real life issue they might tap on doing, and nope, doesn't.
This is a little bit of like I mean, I've criticized this game's politics before, intentional or otherwise, but this is also one of those like conspiracy theory doesn't understand how pharmaceuticals work. Like, no, you see, they're just going to feed us placebos because the real drugs are only for the rich, and the rich are they're going to implant 5G in us, and actually the other ones aren't. It's just like, shut up. You don't understand how this works. Stop trying to write about this. It doesn't make sense for you.
It also didn't just fall back on the old like trope of just being like, but the money's not in the cure, it's in the treatment, Dave.
Yeah.
It's just like, it just said something insane instead.
Yeah.
I'm like, just thinking about trans people like getting fucking like black market tea and stuff like that because they can't get it through legitimate means and stuff like that. It's like, they're not getting saline solutions.
Yep.
There are shady elements to people having to get stuff that they can't get legitimately, but they're not just like getting the wrong stuff and just fucking up constant. Like, that's not. You're thinking of hard drugs. You're thinking about you're thinking about life. You're thinking about drug addicts trying to find something and being taken advantage of by weird dealers and stuff. Not like the actual topic you're talking about.
Yeah.
But whoever made it could just make it cheap, right? Not if it was expensive to make, and even then. This is assuming that it passes the medical board for medication, and there are a lot of interesting parties in ensuring that the sick stay sick, so the money keeps coming in.
It's not, again, this is another conspiracy thing for like how science and medical boards work and like how peer-reviewed studies work.
Yeah. It's like, no, they would try to block it in like some sort of like patenting way. Like they'd try to fuck it up in other ways, but that's not how the actual form of testing drugs, that's not the part that is open to corruption in that way.
Yeah.
It's very strange. It's also just like, you think curing everyone would be good, right? But twist, and I'm like, okay, what is something gonna like fucking like, is it gonna be like the fucking War of the Worlds? Like we all die to fucking like, I mean, does it have like a downside? We all die to the atmosphere or something? And instead it's like, there's obstacles, so we shouldn't bother trying. Which is like weirdly summarizing every character in this game, but not what I expected as an explanation for why not to make a panacea. But it's hard. What if that was The Bachelor? The Bachelor's just like, making a panacea is hard. I should just let the pathologic win. We are the walking pathologic. But that's awful. It is. But that's how the world works. It's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's very much not.
It's more problematic than that too. Imagine all the people who would no longer have jobs because of this one fuck you.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
Fuck
people
you.
Shouldn't have to work. Fuck you.
Imagine all the people who wouldn't have jobs because I cured all sickness, so we don't have to have a sickness.
We don't need healthcare anymore.
What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, first of all, there's just a lot of illnesses or injuries and stuff in medical that aren't sicknesses, so you're not like, the medical field's not gone. But also like, fuck you. Capitalism needs to survive, so we can't cure cancer. That's, you're not, and this part's not even phrased as the previous thing that was phrased as like, oh, that's what'll stop you. It's like, that's why it's morally wrong to cure cancer. It's because what if people lose their job? Imagine all the people that would no longer have jobs because of this one medicine making everything that they've worked on redundant. Overnight, you'd collapse a whole industry. It's literally like the student loan forgiveness argument of like, fucking, if we the trolley problem, we're like, if we divert the train now, it's unfair to all the people it ran over before.
Yeah.
I swear to God. Well, good thing that the thing behind the vault door isn't that medicine then, right? Instead we have, what? He got Dave on his side. Dave just swallowed this whole, like a pill. It's technically that very medicine, Dave, but tailored to one specific individual.
This is the stupidest shit
It's the Save Roswell pill, and it's for some reason in a vault.
So I don't understand then why it's a problem, though, because it's the Save Roswell pill. It is the one pill that only works on one person. So there is no concern for it completely collapsing the industry because it only works on one person who has a terminal illness that most people do not have. What
Or
are you
apparently
talking
this
about?
person's dead. I still feel like it's going to somehow be Roswell anyway, though. Technically, it's that very medicine, Dave, but tailored to one specific individual were they still able to take it. But alas, that time is long gone now. It may as well be poison. That's supposed to be like their brother that died or something? Why aren't they able to take it? What would happen if I took it instead? Put simply, the person who it was made for can no longer take it. You already said that. You're supposed to be clarifying now.
He asked why. Yeah, exactly.
You cannot cure what they have, like any other person who is dead.
It's going to turn out that Roswell has the Last of Us fungus, and curing him would just kill him because he's the fungus host. It's like you can't make the cure out of Ellie because it's melded with her brain. Like, okay, well, that actually meant something in that story. It was meant to be like a thought-provoking narrative conceit that like poses a question. This doesn't pose a question. It's just there for the plot to make the plot happen.
If I ever were to lose you, surely lose myself. I love the premise of fucking Last of Us just being like, hey, what if love was evil?
Yeah.
What if love doomed the world? You cannot cure what they have. Like with any other person who is dead, but if you took it, you'd assuredly die. So then why is it here? Why do people want it? If you could make it that, if you were able to make it, why not just make it for other people through the same process? Oh. It's alright, Dave. It serves as something for me to remember them by. That's all. When my time comes, I'm sure that someone will take care of what's behind that door for me. Why? It's a pill no one can take. Alright. Maybe it's a cool, like, chair that does a zappy on you. And if I need to die to protect it, then so be it. Why? But for now, we'll need to ensure everyone's ready for the days ahead. You've clarified nothing. This has none of this explains your motivations or what you're doing or why anyone would want it or why you want to protect it. If it's just a treatment that will kill anyone that tries to take it because the person that works on it is dead.
Yeah, I'm still failing to understand how this will collapse the pharmaceuticals industry, or how it's even a practical fear to have.
This is all an anti-explanation, and in my search for meaning, I can only conclude it will somehow be used on Roswell anyway, because he's the person with the terminal illness.
Yeah. Like it is the Chekhov's gun thing you talked about, where it's like he heard of Chekhov's gun, but it doesn't really make much sense. And it truly doesn't make much sense in this instance, because it is like, well, it's like he heard of the concept of Chekhov's gun and just is planting all these seeds, but the seeds are not only extremely obvious, but like he tries to circumvent them in a way that we just immediately on the surface know transparently will not be how it plays out.
Roger Ebert's review of Battlefield Earth, where he's just like, the director has noticed that sometimes people tilt the camera, but has not realized why.
Yeah.
So the film's just entirely Dutch angles for no reason.